Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special podcast at FUH University Hospital. Joining us in our studio today is an ace commentator. He is a charming conversationalist and a very, very respected figure in the Indian sports fraternity, especially cricket. Mr. Charu Sharma, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for your kind words, and sometimes I might be fooled to actually believing them, but
I mean it.
But great to be here. Thank you so much, Junaid.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. So you are here with us in FUH University Hospital. We just went on a hospital tour. We took you to the robotic pharmacy, the physiotherapy center, the state-of-the-art technology physiotherapy center that we have, about the trauma, emergency department, the trauma level 2 trauma center that we have. What are your first thoughts?
Well, my first thought is I thought maybe I've come to the wrong place, because you said here you are at the FUH University Hospital, and I said I thought I was at the FUH University Hotel. It's a beautiful place, a lovely space, the amount of openness and the sun coming in from everywhere, the atriums, the amount of green everywhere. I think those are the things that you notice which are special. And of course, every hospital tries to be as professional as possible in terms of the care it gives, the equipment it has, and so on and so forth, being absolutely top of the line, state of the art. So I fully expected that. Mm-hmm. But I think just the layout, the architecture, the way the university, I hesitate to use the word hospital, but I have to, is laid out, I think is very special. Mm. And that's what really, I think mentally aids recovery. And I can understand why people would want to come here compared to many other hospitals, because of just the environment that the hospital possesses, or the university possesses. It's a very special place. I've seen the facilities. Of course, I have very special interest in the physiotherapy department and the sports medicine department. So I enjoyed that. Luckily, I wasn't put to test because I'd failed them all. But I wish the FUH University Hospital only the best, because I think there's a very special effort being made in creating a difference in medical care, and one can see that.
But do you think health and sports are mutually reinforcing, like they go parallel with each other in a way?
100%. I think the overriding macro area that one needs to be aware of is health first. Sports is a subset. I mean, you can be very healthy without being a sportsman. So, a lot of us who are in the world of sport are therefore excessively concerned about health, because unless you're very healthy and athletic, the chances are you can't succeed in sport. So sports persons, of course, have a very special corner of their brain reserved for good health and athleticism. But otherwise too, I think, health is the center point of every individual, every human. And, it's such a travesty of justice that that's the one thing we ignore for the larger part of our life. Till, God forbid, there's some problem or the other, and all of a sudden we require, all sorts of assistance. But health and sport, huge connection.
Huge connection.
I do think that sport at times, compared to people who don't play, could even be more hazardous. Because on one hand, of course, you're training like hell, you're trying to be the best, and physically you're a wonderful specimen. But the injuries that one picks up in the sporting life sometimes come back to haunt you. And you'll find many sports persons later in their life, luckily I'm sort of okay so far, but many sports persons are in very bad health.
Yes.
Because they've neglected their injuries, or they haven't been looked at, or the recovery has been poor, or the rehabilitation has not been professional. And in a sense, sometimes a lot of sports persons are in worse health, strangely, compared to people who don't play sport. Because, I mean, they've led a fairly sort of average life. I'm not saying they're completely sedentary, but those who move around a bit, walk around a bit, look after their health, are in probably better shape. But, I'd rather be at the excitement of sport. You can't replace.
Yes, and I think post-retirement, a lot of players take it easy, and maybe that's one of the reason why.
Well, that too. They're aware that they need to be very healthy, as they were in their playing life, their prime of their playing life. But I think they let go is what you were meaning. And also, I say once again, I think it's the sporting injuries which are not looked after at the right time, which come back to haunt people, and they kind of, at times just lead a life which is not of a former sports person's life. I mean, they are in deep trouble.
And when these kind of players, athletes, cricketers, footballers, when they have to choose a hospital, you're from a sports background, so I'm sure you have a bit of an idea about their psyche, right? So when they have to choose a hospital, what do you think they look at? What is the checklist that, I need this in the hospital for me to choose this as my healthcare partner?
I think there are two people who influence these decisions. I don't think a sports person, especially a practicing sports person, somebody who's right in the middle of pursuing their sporting dreams, do much of the choosing. It's the doctors they're in touch with, and it's the physios they're in touch with. I think the first point of contact is the physio. And a lot of the professional sporting environments now, maybe not at a very small amateur level, but certainly at a higher level, at the professional level, physios are the emperors. They're the busiest people in any team. They're the ones that, you can't get time from because they're so busy. And a good physio, of course, is worth his weight in diamonds, his or her weight in diamonds or gold. So obviously the physio to me is the first point of contact. And the athlete, whichever sport, says, where should I go? What should I do? And where can I be best looked after? So
they choose Fakeeh University Hospital.
Well, so yeah, of course. I mean, this is a fabulous institution, but sports persons may not do their own research. They will depend on the physio, and the physio may lead them to go to a certain center or a hospital or a diagnostic center first and get the reports, and then say, okay, well, I think you should go there because they have the best care. So to my mind, sports persons rarely take their own decisions.
So you need to get us connected to a couple of physios so we can
all
bring them to the hospital and
of
all teams.
Yeah, you should really have a big list of physios who are graduating as physios.
Yes.
Because sooner or later, especially if they're sports-specific physios, they will get attached to a team or several teams. And they are the ones who will then understand better what Fakeeh University Hospital has to offer. And they are the ones who will do the recommending.
Yeah.
Because sports persons are not going to go and say, where should I get my knee looked after, or this, that, and the other. Just go to the physio first. The physio says, oh, yeah, this kind of an injury. Oh, I think you should go get it looked after at so-and-so place because I saw the facility and it's really professional and you should go there.
Yes, yes.
So keep a list of physios.
Amazing. So for our audience, how often...
And also, sorry, if I might interrupt, if you also wish to have a physio training, physiotherapy training section here, because you are a university after all, I'm sure you do, so it's nothing new. But the physios emanating out of this institution should be your biggest brand ambassadors, because they will know exactly how well you can handle sports injuries and rehabilitation.
No, we do have these internship programs for budding doctors, therapists, because we are a university hospital. So
no, I know no idea would have not crossed your mind, but I'm just saying that that's a very good starting point for making sure that sports persons realize just how good and professional this university is.
Wow. Okay, so as I was saying earlier to our audience, what do you recommend them? How often they're supposed to do a regular medical health checkup, for their overall well-being?
Well, I think from the age of 30 perhaps, these days, maybe 15, 20 years ago, I would have said from the age of 40. But times are more stressful. People are running around a lot more. I think they're looking after themselves a little less because of all the pressures that people go through. Maybe from the age of 30, once every year.
Correct.
And maybe these are my own formulas, you can change it, you can tell me, but from the age of 45 perhaps, once in 6 months.
Correct.
And that's a full checkup, whatever it means. I mean, a pretty exhaustive checkup, comprehensive checkup. I do that once a year. Not once in 6 months. At my age, I should probably do it once in 6 months. But
but that's a good way of looking at preventive health, right? Because
absolutely,
people focus on going to the hospital when they fall sick, but then preventive health is something that really keeps them from falling sick, and longevity is connected to that.
It's the ultimate mantra. Preventive. Diagnosis or preventive, what's the word, health?
Yes,
no.
Preventive health.
Preventive healthcare or preventive testing.
Correct.
Because, I mean, very often it could just be a shade too late. And you don't want to go into a hospital or some other care center and say, oh, I wish you'd come 3 months earlier. Well, why didn't you? Because you didn't check yourself. Or I wish you'd come last year. Because we allow ourselves to keep degenerating in various ill health situations to a point where it really becomes a problem and we can't go to work. But I think at the onset of a problem, well, not even that. I mean, once in 6 months you go, you get completely checked up. You have or once in a year when you're younger, you have every chance of getting to know whether something is going wrong or not within your parameters and begin corrective action. Why must you wait to collapse?
Yes.
Or have a major problem? But these things are very often easier said than done because when the going is good, people tend to forget the possibility, God forbid, that things can happen.
Yes.
But I do think that in the sports medicine world, there's been rapid progress, and I hope and I know that Fakeeh University Hospital will also make sure that their sports medicine or sports injury rehabilitation department will be given a lot of attention for the world of sport. And secondly, I do want to add that in their quest, sometimes just a little too, I hesitate to use the words, but what happens is a lot of youngsters are not educated enough, schooled enough in what they must ingest. So I do also feel that the physio, the doctors, the medical trade associated with sport also needs to have a very strong handle on what must be consumed and what must not be. Because I think in their excessive thirst for excelling, sports persons often go off on a tangent and consume stuff which is illegal. And I don't think there in this modern world should be any excuse. Oh, I didn't know, I'm so sorry, somebody fed me this, somebody brought me that. So it's up to the medical trade once again to ensure that the illegality in sport is controlled as much as is possible. After all, you can't monitor somebody 24/7. But as long as the awareness is increased all the time that these things are not good for you, they will lead to all sorts of problems in the future. So don't. Easier said than done, but that's also an area where I think hospitals, universities, people who deal in the world of sport and medicine should focus on constantly. So this counseling needs to be constant.
Correct.
Just like your training is constant, so should the counseling about what is right, what is wrong.
But that's a very good angle of looking at these things, because it has to be somehow collaborated with the mental health, of players. And speaking of which, we also are soon going to have a state-of-the-art mental health sort of institution in Fakeeh University Hospital.
Okay, fantastic.
So
because
we can take note of your point and definitely combine them both together.
I think a lot of sports persons go towards understanding and then absorbing more mental conditioning when they reach the peak and they realize, okay, now what do I need? I need that 1 or 2 or 3% more to be able to excel compared to the 5,000 other people I'm competing with. And that's where mental conditioning, mental strength, of course, plays a very, very important role. You can argue that it plays an important role all the way through from a young age to, when one finishes. But at a young age, you really want the exuberance of youth to take. You want love for the sport. You don't want to be burdened with, mental situations about how to move. But as you grow and become more and more senior in the world of sport, then you need that additional advantage. Where it's possible to have mental conditioning to be able to give you that little fillip, that little extra kick to try and excel. So yes, it's a very important area, and I'm glad that you are covering it or will soon cover it.
Absolutely. Okay. So, Mr. Charu, as you know, we are a DHA accredited level 2 trauma center, right? So we are one of those hospitals where trauma patients can be brought in. So
it's like a very high level of accreditation.
Absolutely. And in sports, when you have any serious injury, this is the kind of hospital that you will be looking at. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, that's what people really need in the world of sport, because there's a certain amount of patch-up work that can be done at the ground or in other smaller centers. But the moment, again, I use the term God forbid every once in a while, but the moment you develop a bigger injury, you need far more professional help. And that is not available everywhere in terms of the sophistication and state-of-the-art recovery, diagnosis even. And that's why centers such as Fakeeh University Hospital, to me, are very important, because sometimes a little patch-up job or a misdiagnosis or a little bit of casual treatment, go ahead, I know you're hurt, but we'll patch you up, don't worry, spray you up a bit, and you walk around a bit, and we'll take care of you. Because I do think the that the higher level of sophisticated care is sometimes looked over, not done. With certain sports persons, because maybe the paucity of time, because you want him to get ready for the next match or 10 days from now, and that time, sometimes that rush doesn't allow sports persons to heal. I mean, I know in the world of cricket, for instance, let me take a percentage. 80% of the players are carrying some niggle or some injury all the time. But because they're playing so much more, even footballers playing so much through the year, they just sort of try and hide their injury, and they're not fully recovered, but somehow they can pass a test and they're back on. I do think that the minute an injury flares up to be something serious, the physio and the medical team associated with the team should throw up their hands and say, stop, go to a major treatment center and get it looked at deeply. And that deep look diagnosis and treatment is only possible in state-of-the-art facilities such as Fakeeh. So you play a very important role, maybe not at point one, as in when somebody gets injured on the ground. It's up to the physio to really understand what's going on. But deeper treatment of bigger injuries is one of the more neglected areas. And you'll find some famous cases, he went and got his knee done in 6 months, 8 months repair and what have you. But a lot of the others for whom, if you take 6 or 8 months off from sport, they feel, I'll never be able to get back, or I'll never be able to get back at that level. So let me just carry on with this. That's really dangerous because you're cutting your own career. And I think, when you have a sophisticated trauma center, you need a player with a bigger injury should be brought there much earlier than trying to kind of find a sort of a local remedy or an area remedy and only much later saying, well, there's not healing now, is it? And then you bring him to a major trauma center. Sometimes it can be a little late. It might be career threatening. So the knowledge that a really sophisticated sports injury trauma center is available should be utilized more and more to ensure that you don't have these long layoffs and then you can't get back to sport because you didn't look after it at the right time. A major injury for sure. Junaid, it's been wonderful to be in conversation with you, and of course thank you for taking me around this wonderful facility. And if you don't mind, I'll just speak a couple of words to those who might be listening about sport and about injury and about rehabilitation. So those early checkups are very important. Go to centers such as these, which are very comprehensive, and of course they can be a wonderful feel as well, so you're not going into a hospital. And finally, of course, if you're a sports person, all I can say is don't neglect injury. Go to the right physio, go to the right place, get it looked at immediately, because if you're serious about your career, then you need to make sure you're as injury-free as possible. I've lived with all sorts of injuries, so I'm a prime example of what should not be done. But of course, you guys have a second chance if you're young particularly, or even if you're not. Get looked at immediately and get looked at by professionals. Don't keep listening to advice by friends and whatever else. You need professional care. And thankfully, the universities and centers such as the Fakeeh University Hospital here in Dubai, who are offering you state-of-the-art diagnosis as well as, of course, repair. Junaid, thank you for the conversation. And thank you for listening. We're here at the Fakeeh University Hospital. That ends our broadcast for the day. A big win for the UAE team, but tomorrow is the final and you don't want to miss that for anything. So whatever you're doing, stay away from that and join us for our broadcast. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow. But till then, thanks for joining us. Goodbye.